It's Friday, September 19th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Today on the show, boosting the local economy one vendor at a time, Quadrangle N.L. has launched a marketplace for folks in the queer community. Our conversation today looks at that support and how it helps the broader community. So as we navigate this discussion, if the spirit moves you, give us a text, 709-327-8206, the signal at cbc.ca. We've got three folks from Quadrangle here, and then we're going to call a couple of vendors through the show. So joining me in studio, Colt Politte, Quadrangle's executive director. Welcome
Hello.
back. How you doing?
It's nice to be back.
I was about to do like this announcer voice thing. I don't know why. I was so inspired to just,
No, I dig it. It's good.
Executive director. Willa Small, entrepreneurship system mapping officer.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome
Happy to be back.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
Good. It's Friday.
Beautiful rainy Friday day.
Beautiful rainy Friday day.
Yeah.
Right? In St. John's. And Mark Adams is here, entrepreneurial navigator.
The one and only.
What's an entrepreneurial navigator?
It's a unique term. It's a very unique search term, actually. So
Yeah.
if you Google that, you'll find me.
Well done then,
Yeah,
because like if
absolutely.
you Google me, a different Adam Walsh comes up. So there you go.
There you go. So it's in a string of other roles at Quad that also follow the navigator line. So we have a trans navigator who helps people with their transitioning and gender affirming care. So in my role, it's essentially helping aspiring entrepreneurs to find the tools they need to start up a business, despite the difficulties out there.
How do you like it?
It's good. No, it's great to kind of give back to community in a way that I can kind of directly see it. So my background is in printing T-shirts. I took over Living Planet there about 10 years ago, so a print T-shirt print shop. So after a long string of having that run for however long I can make it run, it's just kind of great to see if I can in any way help somebody else try and take over a business or start their own thing.
Oh, all right. Colt, bring me back to the beginning. Where did this idea come from?
So the idea for our shop in the mall, the marketplace, it came from an idea that back in June, I had been in Toronto for this Funders, the Canadian Gay and Lesbian or Canadian 2SLGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce's conference in, I forget where in Toronto, but it was nearby the Eaton Centre. And I had walked through the Eaton Centre during their Pride Month, and they had an entire Pride market where inside the mall they had rented out a storefront, and there were volunteers just selling products made from queer and trans businesses, vendors, people who just made something and wanted to make a bit of extra money. Okay. And the Pride board was actually putting it off, and they were just selling it through. And I could not tell if it was only Pride or it was the Eaton Centre or whatever it was, but it created the idea that no, we could have that in St. John's. Yeah. We definitely could probably get with our Avalon Mall and have them look at renting as a space, and we could support the vendors through the entrepreneurship training program that these two are part of.
And why did you think it was so? I mean, I can picture why it's important, but why did you think it was so important when you're looking at that and thinking, like, gosh, this, like, we could do something like this back in St. John's?
There was two bits of it. The first one was that we know that the vendors we work with a lot, and we've had other vending marketplaces before, and it worked really well. We know that we had a lot of entrepreneurs that could do it. We knew that from a very quick chat back and forth that we could probably find 16 to 30 people who'd be able to come in and fill up a mall space. So the actual getting it done wasn't really a big concern. And we knew our funders would probably love hearing a new idea that would probably help even push the program a bit further. So that wasn't the big issue. But the other thing was, a lot of times we see amazing things happening in the bigger cities, so Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and we always hear back that it's not going to work in Newfoundland for whatever reason you want to pick. And it was just really cool to say, we're just going to try, and then it worked. And it's doing really well at the mall right now.
It's a great little lesson there. I've noticed that too. Like times when I've traveled and I see stuff, and it's like, this would be so nice to have back home.
And I want that too.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
I remember the food truck conversation. There was a time when it was like, food trucks in St. John's, what? And then all of a sudden we have more, like this stuff. And that's, kind of a niche thing. But to look at what you're talking about in the Eaton Centre and to see the vendors and be like, well, why can't we? So a trip to the Eaton Centre, and he comes back and talks to both of you. What happens?
Well, there's this, I don't know, idea that like, Newfoundland, we say, oh, have not province. I mean, absolutely we can, but we can have everything that other provinces have, just our version of it. I mean, the Avalon Mall actually has a lot more traffic per, on average than other malls, across Canada. So we found that it was actually a really great way to give some of our vendors exposure. And also this is kind of like an extension of an idea that we did back in May, our Made Right Queer market, we called it.
Yeah.
And so at that time we had 40 queer vendors all in the farmers market space. So really we already had like a huge, like Colt said, a huge network of entrepreneurs and vendors to pull from. And really it was only a matter of, contacting them all, seeing if we can make this happen, and then contacting the vendors that we, already have the strong network of, and, kind of pulling all of them together. And it all came together pretty nicely, honestly.
Cool. So Colt, what's it like to have such confidence in a team when you come back and you're like, I know they've got it?
It's so wonderful. I cannot stress that enough to anyone else who is managing any group. It's the team we have at Quadrangle across all programs, including ETP, is just a dream.
Yeah.
This is not a worry. When I came back, actually, I think I distinctly gave you to this idea. It's like, can you just look into this? Wasn't expecting it to be done, and then went on vacation after Pride.
Yeah.
And came back, and they were both like, it's ready. The space is opening. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's pretty. You should go on vacation more often.
I should.
Right. Mark, thoughts on just to kind of build on what's been said?
Yeah, when Colt came back with that idea, I was just kind of going like, well, good luck getting space in the Avalon Mall prior to Christmas, because I know a lot of seasonals.
There's stuff going on.
Well, seasonals pick up. You got your Spirit Halloweens, you got your Hickory Farms, the places that operate for 3-4 months of the year and then shutter afterwards. So I was just kind of, again, as a real estate friend one told me, put it out into the universe and see what happens. And of course, the fantastic team at Crombie Reed over there was not only responsive but enthusiastic and said, hey, come on over. We'll help you out as much as we can. We had a look at a few spaces, but we picked the one that we wanted because we just, had a sense of scale and what we could accomplish.
Yep.
But I also keep saying too, like if you give people a stage, they'll dance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if it's no cost to them, like through and that's true for all the things we do through ETP. There's no cost. This isn't a fundraising opportunity, even though the charity's up on the sign. This is not fundraising for Quad. This is we're putting money directly into people's hands.
What's the range of vendors then? Like, paint the picture for me.
You got your typical, you got your jewelers. We have tarot card readers right up to high-skilled craft woodworking. We've got someone selling, what else have we got? It's authors, a few authors as well, too.
Authors, publishers.
Artists we've been in a lot, too. Yeah. Yep.
Yep, lots of creators, lots of small creators that just want that additional exposure. They kind of want to try a mall retail setting. And even if this program spurs a few ideas of them, one or two of them saying, hey, if I've made this much in just 5 days here, imagine what I can turn around and make if I got a kiosk here or in my own retail space.
Yeah, thinking even further to brick and mortar or whatever else, right? Because there's so many different ways to have a business nowadays.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's one of the big bits of, you can see, I find over the years we've looked at folks who've started like at the farmers market, and next thing you know, after a couple seasons of that, they do end up in whether it's the Village Mall, the Avalon Mall, or someone else, and they end up with this kind of dream space that they've worked towards, and it's so great to see. What was the kickoff like for this? Because so Eaton Center, back, hey, I saw a thing. Goes on vacation, comes back. You've got stuff together. It's like, hey, excellent. How were there nerves involved around the launch for everything, or was it all like, no, we got everything's together?
Because you got back like the day before it opened, quite literally, and we were putting up signs like the day before. We had cookies from Craig's Cookies there. You want to support queer business? We were putting all the chairs out and tables, helping out the vendors, and getting everything set up. So for you coming back, that must have been a bit of a realization whiplash there.
A little bit, honestly. I came back and I remember sitting down and opening my email after, I just tried not to look at what was gone. But I remember opening it and just seeing ETP Marketplace, ETP Marketplace, ETP Marketplace, just down a low line. And I just paused for a second. And I was like, I should probably reach out to the two of them and find out where we are with it. But by the time I had done that, they had both already showed me that, no, it's done.
Had it all put together.
Put together and ready to go and already up and running. Yeah.
with the elbow macaroni and glue and tape and all the stuff we could use. But that's the other thing about it too, is that it's not only just it's one thing to open up a shop, but it's also managing people. And so maybe my experience as a business owner ties into this, but it's also making sure everyone's in. We had people drop out last second, so I had to scurry and find someone else to sign up last minute, and get the mall's approval as well too. All vendors had to apply through the mall and through ourselves as well too, to make sure that what they were doing was kosher and great, and then make sure it also goes under there, doesn't compete with anything nearby in the mall, kind of thing.
Yeah, just wanted to add in there that, like, every time that we had, somebody drop out, there was always like an enthusiastic vendor just like ready to jump in there and fill in the spot. So, they're like, honestly, the interest and excitement from our network of vendors has been, so encouraging. And I mean, sure, like you mentioned the nerves, there's nerves with everything.
Yeah.
But, hearing all of the positive responses from our vendors, seeing that enthusiasm, and even like, seeing the relationships between these entrepreneurs form has been, it's been so inspiring and uplifting that it kind of casts a nice little ray of sunshine through the clouds of, whatever issues that might have arisen.
What's it been like then watching it? So watching the vendors and watching just folks come up, chat with them, buy stuff, like just what's it been like watching the operations?
You get to see a little bit more of the nature of the mall, which is foreign to me because I'm
there's a
small-scale manufacturing.
Subculture of malls around the world, I think.
Yeah.
There's a culture there for a mall.
Yeah, and again, we had to convince our funder that it was a mall that was actually growing, because when you say a mall to somebody on the mainland, they're probably going to be more like, oh, aren't they kind of dying out?
They might think of a spot that lost its fountain years ago, as opposed to.
I've been saying for years, it's listed on Wikipedia as a tourist attraction, right? So the Avalon Mall persists, right? So
and no shade on the other mall either. Both malls are fantastic. St. John's.
We would have taken either. That's space is a space. We'll make it happen, right?
Yeah.
But it is kind of magical to see members of the queer community also kind of show up and just stop and say, "Oh, this is just amazing to see," knowing that it's for us, by us, but also for everybody else too to avail from.
Yeah, I mean, visibility, among queer business leaders, it's, kind of an issue. I mean, like, other than, big Tim Cook from Tim Apple, he's out there. But I mean, like queer businesses and queer business owners kind of have a bit of a visibility issue. So like, not just showing the businesses that it can be possible, but also just like showing other community members that something like this is possible is, really meaningful for us. And, we hope it can, maybe spark some, some folks who might have an idea. Maybe they don't see themselves as entrepreneurs. Maybe it might inspire them to become entrepreneurs because they're seeing it happen in front of their very eyes, And
with connection for folks walking around, like we're living through a time when there's a lot going on in the world, and you look at from what's been going on south of the border with the complete pushback against DEI conversations, everything else. We've had conversations on this show before, Colt, to see the success of this, to see community be welcoming, and to see people just getting along like people do and should. What does that do you think what does that do for the larger picture for everyone?
I think it really just nails home what these two have been kind of saying about that magic of having this visible space, but really showing folks that they are here, they are seen. Like Willa said, we can already start to see that it's causing more conversation to happen. We're having more folks reach out than ever before to Mark because this is an event they can see themselves in. We've had more people connecting with our programs in general because we now have a physical presence in a spot where it's so highly visible. A constant thing we deal with at Quadrangle, and I'm sure this is a thing that other nonprofits and charities deal with too, is that our outreach is always ongoing, and it's very difficult to get a message or to get someone to buy into something that you're doing unless you're like right in front of them.
Yeah.
Social media doesn't do it.
No.
Sending a flyer out doesn't do it. You have to be physically in front of them and talking to them. And by having this space in the mall where everyone is walking through, where everyone is seeing it and people are coming in and going and there's no stigma of I'm walking into the queer space, I'm just going in to buy something.
Yeah.
It removes a lot of that friction people have about engaging with us. And, maybe they don't want to start a business, but maybe they need help somewhere else and we already have a program that can do it. We now have another entry point for people to come in and talk to us.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
You got to applaud them because I just see their entrepreneurial spirit. That first day, it was nerves. It was, are they selling stuff?
Yeah,
Is it
like
worthwhile?
day one, like what is happening?
After 12 hours, like, do they think this is a shot in the dark? Do they think that this is worthwhile? And then, I talk to them, and then they tell me, no, we actually did make some sales. It's a little bit of a slow burn, but nature of the retail setting they're in, they are making money there. And we're going to find out as towards the end of the marketplace, as we get some follow-up surveys and just some estimates as to what they're making. But as long as we can show that it's what we've put in or even more, then that's all the more rewarding. So
Success.
yeah.
Well, Brittany Stuckless is one of the vendors and on the line. Hi, Brittany.
Hi.
How you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. Tell us about yourself.
So I'm an acrylic painter. I'm from Deer Lake. I do a lot of nautical work, a lot of Newfoundland themed stuff, a lot of ocean animals, and I also dabble in some like gothic and fantasy art, and also some fan art for the conventions like Avalon Expo.
Cool. When did you start this?
I started painting again, I should say, in 2021 in the summer, because in Deer Lake we actually started a hump day market across from the beach. And it was free for people to attend. You just had to email the organizers and bring your own table. So COVID was happening. I had just graduated university. The job market was what it was. So I went, I have a table. I can paint. So I emailed the organizers, and I was like, hey, I want to come. And they were like, great. Just show up, basically. So I started painting, and then I was there every Wednesday all summer. And I got a good reception. So I was like, hey, I'll keep doing this into the fall while I work on other stuff. And then it just kind of turned into a full-time thing for me.
Well, curious, what was your degree in?
Marine biology, actually, which is why I paint so many fish and nautical things.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because you said nautical, and I was looking at the notes there, and I was really, really curious. How did you get involved with this market?
So my partner lives here in St. John's, and I went to school here in St. John's. And we're in a queer platonic relationship, and I am asexual and aromantic myself. So when the Quadrangle started showing up on social media, in Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, I thought that was a really great initiative, and I'd followed them. And then there in August, when they'd put out the call for vendors, I was like, hey, I'm a vendor. I meet these criteria. I should apply. And, sent my application in. They got back to me, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you. And it all just kind of went from there.
So what's it been like for this week and being there?
It's been a little slow during the weekdays, but that's to be expected. The traffic picks up a little bit in the evening. People get out of school, they get off work. The other vendors have been fantastic. We've all been really chatting to each other and getting to know each other, which I think for me is a big benefit. You're kind of connecting with the community in a way that you don't always get to at bigger events where there's hundreds of vendors. This is a very cozy, intimate kind of space where you really get to know your fellow vendors over the week. It's been really good. There's been a really positive feedback, I think. People come in, they love to see the crafts and the small businesses. And I think it's been really great for people connecting to small businesses that maybe they didn't know existed, but maybe they don't go to markets. Maybe they don't do the farmer's market, but they go to the mall.
Right. How much painting do you do in the run of a week? I'm just very curious, because if you're selling paintings and what you're creating, what's the work process like?
It really varies from week to week and what time of year it is. I'm very busy with markets in the summertime, but in the wintertime it's very slow. So I try to stock up on my painting in the off season, so to speak. It can vary. Sometimes I spend 10 hours painting a week, but I've had weeks where I spend 60 plus hours painting. It just depends on what the workflow is and what your inspiration is that week, and if you're feeling good. And in my case, if my tendonitis is bad and I can or cannot hold the paintbrush for 8 or 10 hours a day.
Yeah, I'm on those really banner weeks, 60 plus hours, when you're feeling good, you've got all the inspiration. At the end of the week, when you look at what you've accomplished, paint us a word picture for the radio of what that looks like, of the work of the paintings, and what 60 hours can mean in time in painting.
So it can really depends on what projects I'm working on. I do hand-painted magnets, and I can bang out hundreds of magnets, 300 or 400 magnets on a good week if I've got all the prep done and I'm just ready to just go. Last November, I was getting ready for my first solo show as an artist, and I painted 5 16 by 20 or larger canvases in the span of 2 weeks.
Wow. Oh, that's a lot. What have you learned about being a small business operator, an entrepreneur in recent years?
I think it's really about the human connection. I feel like you get your repeat customers who really like your vibe, really like who you are as a person. They love your art style or whatever it is you create, and that's what keeps them coming back in this sea of overwhelming advertising with people who have a lot of, like, businesses who have a lot of money, like established corporations and stuff. As a small business, you really have to make that human connection to break through all that noise. Like, you can post on Facebook and Instagram, and maybe if you're higher up there, you can pay for a little bit of advertising here and there. But it's really the in-person events, I feel like, where you make those connections with your regular customers and your regular attendees and even other vendors. And I have lots of people who come by the table and they can't buy from me every single time because, money is tight or whatever, but they always stop by. They always say hi. We talk. I've made a lot of friends through both other vendors and customers doing this, which has been really fantastic.
Yeah, I love the community side of just thinking about the friendships and those connections that are made as you, as you're selling, as you're creating, as you're being part of a market. If folks want to find you, where exactly are you located?
So I can be found at Brittany Stuckless Art on Facebook and Instagram. I have like a red squid for my profile picture.
All right,
he's my business mascot.
Find you now, yeah. And where are you two? And where's the? Did we cover? Where is the market in the mall? Anyways, what part of the mall is it at?
So it's right next to the food court. It's across from the garage and the pretzel maker. It's where icing used to be. So it's like 2 doors down from GameStop.
Oh, that is very specific, and I think everyone listening will know exactly where that is because I can picture it in my head. Anything else before we let you go, Brittany?
I just think that this is a really fantastic opportunity for small businesses, especially like where we're doing this pilot project with no table fees or anything. I've been doing markets a few years, but the vendor across from me, Cozy Oak, they're in their first year of vending. So this has been a really great opportunity for them not to have all the financial risk of paying for a big market at some of the larger shows and being able to just kind of get a feel for what retail space feels like or how much material you need or how much stock you need and that kind of thing. Like, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I really hope the pilot project goes well and that they're able to continue on with it.
All right, and I just added you on Instagram. I'm looking at a really nice duck painting, like the little yellow bath duck with a bunch of different.
It's Pikmin.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, Pikmin Polaroid. Oh, it's so cool. And some videos here too. All right, so Brittany Stuckless Art for Instagram. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And good luck with sales.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks. Nice chat with Brittany. Excellent art here on the gram that I'm looking at. Any thoughts?
As a visual arts major myself, it's impressive work.
Yeah.
And I also reflect on my own experience. I was vending 20 years ago, even when I started doing like small art paintings and prints at markets, not just here, but I was also doing a first year over in New Brunswick and did markets there. Colt can also probably relate because Colt also does photography on the side. Mm-hmm. It's just encouraging and so fantastic to see people succeed at this without too many of those hurdles. Like they're too worried about making their table back. They're worried about stock or how to get there, and they only have 6 feet of space because really the standard table's 6 feet. We're giving them I think it's it's 12 feet by 12 by 10 spaces. Yeah. So Brittany's got a whole spread over there. I recommend everybody go over there and have a look. The prices are wildly reasonable. I think they should be a little higher, but that's just my opinion. You're walking away with a deal, though. I think it'd be good from Brittany, something from Brittany.
Beautiful space in there right now.
Yeah. What have you learned then over the years? Because you talked about those barriers that so the barrier can be the cost of renting a table and then the size and whatever. So to remove that affords folks opportunity to minimize risk around things.
Yeah, something that all small businesses struggle with, not just queer businesses, is access to funding. So you might want to start up, you might have a great idea, but you're not able to access the capital to make it happen. Something that we're not able to. We're not able to directly fund businesses, but something that we can do is give them free opportunities to generate revenue to maybe fill some of those funding gaps themselves.
Yeah.
We're just really happy to be able to, give these businesses the opportunity to, give them that early stage validation that, they might not have had access to if, we hadn't given them this opportunity.
So, Willa, for your position, entrepreneurship system mapping officer for Quadrangle.
Yeah.
What have you been learning as you've been, because you come into a position and you have thoughts. Everyone has
Totally.
thoughts when they come into something. And then after day one, those thoughts can change.
Yep.
Week one, and so on and so forth. What have you been learning, and what have you learned so far?
So, that's entrepreneurship system mapping officer. What does that mean? Basically, I'm the research arm of our entrepreneurship training program. And, something that I've found come up a lot in my research is that, despite all, the significant barriers to entry to, for queer business owners, I've learned that, offering space and, safe and welcoming spaces for these entrepreneurs, to come together and sort of share their knowledge and ideas, it can help them, thrive and succeed with their business. And seeing the level of confidence from day one of, the market to day 5, some business owners, they might come in with a little bit of trepidation, maybe some anxiety. These things are pretty common, not just among, people, but, just everybody.
Everyone,
really.
everywhere.
I mean,
100%.
everybody.
You start something new, you're going to be nervous. But
Yeah.
how do you, just to kind of dive into that for a second, how do you see and notice that confidence? What's the tell? What's the show for confidence at a market for folks who are setting up and for the vendors?
I mean, it's from body language to, verbal language to, them saying like, I have new friends from this. Like, me and some of the other vendors we're gonna actually get together and, hang out afterward. Seeing someone kind of come out of their shell from like, a more shyer person to a more confident business owner, that is definitely an indicator.
Yeah, and I have no idea how confident Brittany Stuckless sounded beforehand, but it sounded fairly confident. Like there's a nice, I don't know if it's like joy and gushingness of talking about the experience that I got from talking to Brittany just then, which is, and I don't know if that was at the beginning, but it's really nice to hear it here at this part of it of someone who's experiencing a market and meeting new friends and doing all of what you're saying. So, and go ahead, continue.
Oh, I mean, it's just been really nice seeing like, these networks form, like, people who didn't know each other beforehand, but now they have like, a stronger network of, fellow queer entrepreneurs to, bounce the ideas off of, share knowledge, share their experiences. When we can create a dialogue and connections, for these, community members, that just gives them more opportunities to, succeed, because at the end of the day, knowledge is power, and, knowing more about, what helps their fellow entrepreneurs succeed, helps them succeed as well.
I think it's genius too, because I look at it for something like this, automatically you get peer-to-peer support right there, which is so important to know you're not alone, and someone coming in perhaps with a little less confidence on a Monday next to someone who's got a little bit more from a previous experience. They're talking, so how's this going to work? I've never done this before. Actually, no, it's going to be fine. You're going to be great. And then you sell something. And then the Tuesday, like you said, is better. And then by the end of the week, maybe you're giving someone else a boost when they need it or whatever. But it's such a nice kind of an idea of community support and growth and building, right? Which I really like. You are listening to The Signal. I'm Adam Walsh. Today on the show, we're talking about supporting entrepreneurs in the queer community with Quadrangle N.L. We've got 3 folks here in studio. We spoke with one vendor already. We'll speak to another one shortly. Here with me in studio, Colt Politte, Quadrangle N.L.'s executive director. There we go. Willa Small, entrepreneurship system mapping officer, and Mark Adams, entrepreneurial navigator. See, that was so easy when I started the show, and then with this one, all of a sudden my mouth's not working anymore.
My name
That's
always
a lot of
pops
words.
up.
So much jargon.
I think it's the NL at the end that was messing me up there. Quadrangle, always been, but the NL. Anyways, I digress. I move on. Mark, your experience from when you first got into being an entrepreneur to now helping folks, what do you wish you could have known from the beginning that you know now that you're talking to people about?
Oh boy, you learn a lot. Well, so like I mentioned before, I have a fine arts background.
Yeah.
So not a business degree. I just wanted to see a good gig stay alive. I kind of wanted to see the print shop keep going. So I just kind of said, you know what, we'll sign up. We'll just learn along the way. And so I do kind of wish a resource like this may have been around. I know business supports were around anyway, but like we just kind of went the road of like, no, we're going to hit the ground running. We're going to try this out. Just learn as we go along. We'll figure out the number stuff as we go. We've got great employees already. So it's just a matter of plugging it all back in and just kind of making it our own. And we doubled revenues within 2 years in the place. So it was fantastic.
Within 2 years?
Within 2 years, we doubled revenues. So great for a local business.
Yeah. Well, what do you know what you put into the sauce to get that? Like because that's impressive.
Just to give it a bit more of a pulse, and marketing is its own kettle of fish, of course, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole thing to deal with. But just to kind of give it more of a pulse, we embraced more of the social media age early on. Kind of showed people the process and printing shirts, and as soon as you enter the place, you can see it right there. We're printing right away. We're probably printing the order you're picking up. So, kind of just giving it more of a face and more of a pulse. Just had a great team as well going ahead. I think something like this would have been appreciative, especially seeing that it was like queer focused for sure, because it's myself and my business partner are gay. So, and then further promoting that was celebrated by some, but of course, in a system of oppression that we're in, some people are just not going to support you. That's just to be presumed. We can't measure what we can't tangibly find or see, or of course, no one's going to outright say it or not going to support you.
No, someone walks by and it might be, maybe they don't like my product, or maybe it's something else.
But I'm not a stranger to having lost opportunities for being queer. So there's just that. It's not particularly a mindset. It's something you got to try and buck the trend of. And the double-edged sword of that, too, is that there's a growing list of organizations that want to support queer entrepreneurs. It's part of their mandate.
Yeah.
It might be part of their larger scope of things, and also to support local. So it's the more you put it out there, the more you're going to find those diamonds in the rough that do want to support you and pick you for that reason, because you're standing out there on your own.
So as a
queer business owner.
Yeah, so as a queer business owner who has been standing out there on their own and doing great with sales, what is your takeaway, or what kind of learnings have you gotten from just what the community is like here in St. John's and Newfoundland and Labrador?
The customers are fantastic, first and foremost. And it's a good mixture of it's 50-50 typically. So it's a lot of return customers, and then your newer customers who may try you once. But then word of mouth is also powerful. It's great to get good word of mouth about your business. And having good service at the end of the day is what I always try and instill in everybody who comes to the program as well, too, no matter what stage of your business you're in. If you just show people their grace, if you treat the ladies and gentlethems like ladies and gentlethems, the old Ritz-Carlton line there, they will return back in that same gratitude of you doing that. So it's a lot of the lessons you learn by taking up a business, and it's really I did this right after art school, started printing and stuff. I just kind of wanted to keep the shop going. It was a good gig.
So what's the hardest thing as an entrepreneur? What are some of the really harder bits of running the business?
The math and the numbers and
I
all
hate
of that.
math and
Get a good
numbers.
accountant friend.
Yeah.
I'm handy with payroll and stuff like that now, but just have a good. All my advice: just if you meet somebody at the bar as an accountant, buy them a drink. You know what I mean? Do them a favor. Go mow their lawn a few times when they can't, and they'll return it in spades. And by all means, get someone who can figure out your numbers for you. You'll be golden.
Willa, what have you learned from talking to some of the vendors? Just we've mentioned a little bit of challenges, but what other challenges have you heard from folks, whether it's not necessarily at the market, but just in general from what they've faced for just trying to get their businesses going? Like, what's the conversation like of what folks are telling you of, like, whether that could be some bureaucratic red tape thing or some processy thing or anything?
Queer entrepreneurs, they face, all kinds of issues. Unfortunately, discrimination is one of them.
Yeah.
I've heard from some entrepreneurs who've unfortunately had to deal with slurs, while working, while on the job, while selling their wares, while doing their business. Some other entrepreneurs who have dealt with unwanted harassment. So, these are issues that are unfortunately, faced by the community. I mean, like 28% of queer-owned businesses have experienced discrimination in some form. And all we can really do is to, provide safe spaces for them to conduct business. I mean, we're not going to end all the hate in the world, unfortunately, but, we can create, safer and welcoming spaces, where these folks can conduct business, in as safe of a way as they can.
What is the conversation like around that? Like, if you're creating a safe space, so if you're at the mall, I mean, there's security. Right. So that's like, is it as much as that being like, well, okay, we know there's security there, and also like we've got numbers of support. So just even that alone is a pretty good level for safety. Is that it, or is there more?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like we've had a lot of support from not just from security, but from the mall itself. Yeah. So even if some of our vendors even if they might deal with some form of discrimination when they're there. And, we have unfortunately gotten word that has happened. Security is always there to jump in and support them and support us and, to try and make the space as safe as possible for these people to, just make money and, sell their stuff.
Yeah.
I think, too, that because we control the whole space and we have our signage up saying that what it is and this is a charity-run event, it does disarm a lot of people who might want to come in with that kind of negativity or that kind of vibe. It still happens, by all means, and Willa is correct. But we have that little bit of safety just built in by you're walking into this space. Yeah. You have made this choice. It's not have you as a vendor in a market where you're surrounded by everyone else and it's much more open to public. We know it's still the mall. But you see those signs and you kind of get an idea of what you're walking into before you even walk up to it. Yeah. The space is beautiful and it's very welcoming, but you can see that before you get there, and it does reduce it a little bit for us. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for just talking about that, because I was just curious on the range and the conversation and what folks face, but at the same time to have heard from Brittany Stuckless and others about just the positivity around it and that side of it too. We've got another vendor on the line, Steve Westenra. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. Tell folks about yourself.
Hi. So I'm an academic. I'm also a queer author of horror and science fiction and fantasy. And so that's the capacity in which I was participating in the Quadrangle market. I was selling my book, The Erstwhile Tyler Kyle.
And how were book sales?
They were really good. I learned about the market kind of at the last minute, so I didn't have the amount of stock that I was initially hoping to have. But I ended up selling out, so that was a big deal for me. Yeah. It was also, it was my first market too, so that was a great experience to have.
Okay, so you joined late, you got your books, and you're like, this is my first market, I don't know how this is going to go, and then you sell out all your books. So walking in, what was the feeling when you first set up? Like, were you as bullish as thinking hey, these things are going to go like hotcakes, or were you a little scared?
I think mentally I tend to flip-flop between those two extremes. I will sell absolutely nothing, which I was a bit prepared for, because sometimes, depending on the audience, there's not a lot of people looking for books specifically. But, then there's always that kind of egotistical part of you that's what if I sell everything? What if, there are people clamoring to buy the ebook and, and usually I'd say, it's a mix of both. It's never so intense either way, but yeah.
Quite the range, Steve, from zero to everything on sales and flip-flopping in your emotions there. As you were selling, for people coming and browsing and looking at your books, what's the conversation like with folks who ended up purchasing them? What are they curious about for your writing?
Really positive conversations. Even people who ended up not buying a book were very polite and would ask usually a couple of questions about it. I think most people just kind of wanted to know what the book was about, to be honest, which really pleased me, because it's nice when the conversation can kind of focus on the work, right, and on the art, instead of, I guess, I feel obligated to buy this, or I'm coming in with some kind of bigoted view or something like that, or presumptions about what something might be about. So yeah, most of the questions were just, what's the plot of the book? Who are the characters? Sometimes people asked me a little bit about myself in a really respectful way, and that was nice too. Yeah.
Well, tell us about the book. Tell us a little bit about the plot and the characters, if you could. I'm curious.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. So it's about a cryptid hunting YouTuber, the titular Tyler Kyle, who goes to an isolated island in the Canadian wilderness following a fake video of his presumed dead mom. And the island used to be a gay conversion camp and may house the monsters he swears aren't real. And the island, though fictional, is based on Newfoundland a little bit. So, yeah.
What's the best review or feedback you've gotten from someone who's bought and read your book and gotten back in touch with you and told you about it?
Oh, man. There's a lot that stand out. One of my first reviews was from a review website called Queen's Book Asylum, from a reviewer called Paul. I don't know his last name. And he just really seemed to get what I was going for, what I was doing. It's a very, what we call in writing circles, a voicey book. So there's a lot of strong character work that goes into the prose. It's very close perspective on the main character. And I play a lot with language and epistolary formats and things like that. There's a lot of blank spaces that are intentionally left and emojis in certain parts and that kind of thing. And he really seemed to get that I was being playful, but also that there was a kind of seriousness as well that undergirded the humor. So I think sort of his reaction helped validate that, okay, the things that I was trying to do as an author were actually coming across. And so I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it's great when people get it and what you're trying to kind of put out into the world. That is such a nice feeling. What is so when you look at the marketplace overall, give us your overall review of your experience with it and kind of what you took from it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think everyone at Quadrangle did a really good job. It was a really fantastic idea. One of the things that was really great for me as somebody where it was my first time sort of selling in person in that way was just the lack of intimidation. It felt like a welcoming space. It felt like it wasn't millions and millions of vendors all crammed into a really small space. It felt like, okay, I could get to know the other vendors a bit. So we all felt very comfortable with one another. And it was nice to have the opportunity to kind of sell in the mall to a wider range of people. Because as much as I love those small markets, I love going to farmers markets. I'm somebody who enjoys that kind of a space. Not everybody does, and many potential readers, in my case, but customers more broadly, might never go to those, so they only go to the mall. And so you're kind of reaching a wider range of people, and that was really nice as well.
Amazing. Before I let you go, if people are curious about your books, how do they find out about them?
Yeah, so I have a website, stevewestenra.com. But you can also order the erstwhile Tyler Kyle from pretty much any bookstore. You can order the physical book from Chapters. You can order the ebook from Kobo. If you want to use, evil websites like Amazon, you can find it there as well. Not to put a moral judgment on it. But yeah, it's available from all sort of mainstream retailers or small bookstores. You can also find it locally at Elaine's Books downtown. Ooh. And at the Munn Bookstore. So, yeah.
Lots of places. And what's next for you? What's the next thing on your to-do list?
Yeah, so I'm working. I've got a couple of things on the go. I've got a novella coming out from New Edge Sword and Sorcery, and that will be 2026. And I've got another novella I'm working on, Breadcrumbs on a Forest Floor, about a trans man who gets taken by the fairies and then wakes up on the grave of the changeling who replaced him. And that one's based very much on Newfoundland lore and Barbara Rietti's work in her book Strange Terrain and that kind of stuff.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Steve, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Steve Westenra, their author. Great reviews by another vendor. Anyone have any thoughts?
Just goes to show you there's no such thing as too niche. 'Cause of course, when
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
showed up with just the one title and like dozens of copies of it, I went, oh,
Yeah, well, we'll see how this goes. Oh,
okay,
extremely well.
The selection's not too broad, but you know what? It's a great story. It's going to be a great book. It looks like a great product. And as you heard, by the end of the week, all sold out. So
That's
you can't be
amazing.
too niche, honestly. If you feel like you just got one, you're not the one-trick pony. That can still sell.
Yeah, I used to, when we used to live in Tokyo, I used to always love their little restaurants that would be like, they'd serve one dish a day. Now they'd serve like hundreds of them, but it'd be one thing.
Yeah.
And the lineup would be out the door. You're like, well, I guess people are really like these tuna bowls.
I bet you it was darn good.
It's fantastic. Always, whenever there's a lineup, a lot of times it's pretty good. Anyone else with thoughts on Steve or anything?
I mean, like Mark said, yeah, nothing's too niche. I mean, if you show up with a great product and if you, promote it properly, to the right demographic of people, you do your due diligence, your market research, like what we did, with the mall and, like with its, increase in traffic and how successful it is. You can make sales, you can, make a profit, and you can, succeed and thrive in your business. You just gotta, put in the right amount of market research and have the right product for the right demographic.
Yeah, I love it. It wasn't Steve wasn't sure whether or not it would nothing would sell or everything, and luckily or not luckily, but because of the talent and I guess the content of the book, it all sold out, which is so cool. Colt, tell us about that. We've got 7, 8 minutes left, but let's use what we've been talking about and broaden out for Quadrangle and just where things are at and where things are going.
Yeah, so the ETP program, so entrepreneurship training program that these two are a wonderful part of, that was funded through a grant from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce for 2SLGBTQ plus individuals.
Yeah.
So CLGCC.
CGLCC.
Thank you. Acronyms in this place are all the time. But this grant was really cool because it's the first time that the CGLCC became a funder. And they identified that, we actually do think that if we put some money behind queer and trans businesses in Canada, we could really see something big come out of it. And we were a part of their ecosystem fund, so we got the funding for 1 year. So we're hopeful we're going to see an extension, but we have 1 year funding. And when we got this amount, we were very much kind of sitting down being like, well, what would have the biggest impact? What would actually support the most amount of people? And what would show back to the funder and to everyone we want to partner with in the future? What could we show back to them to say, there is something here? There are queer and trans entrepreneurs here who could really, really do a lot if we give them a little bit of a push. Yeah. So that's what Mark and Willa are really focused on, showing that there is this community here, that there is this vitality in this part of the economy that we could just start working with better instead of constantly pretending it doesn't exist. Yeah. Something that the vendors mentioned, but also something that these two have mentioned a few times, we know that there are business supports already available. We know that there's a lot of great business development offices around the province. Some are here in St. John's. We have Metro Business Opportunities. There is St. John's itself. The city has a business development. Yeah. But what we kept hearing from people who want to work with us is that they don't want to go to those places because they don't feel seen or safe. Yeah. So what our program can kind of do, and what Quadrangle tries to do with a lot of our other programs, is try to be that bridge from the traditional service that could help you and probably would love to, but you don't feel safe or comfortable going there. We can try to bridge that gap as much as we can, and that's what ETP is doing really, really well, especially Willa with the research that she's doing to create a system map for future entrepreneurs and what Mark was doing to navigate them through it as it is. ETP is taking that challenge head on and succeeding. Our other programs are still continuing as it is. Like Mark mentioned earlier, we have TransNav program that is there to help folks who might want to transition or explore their gender identity a bit further, either with medical transition, social transition, or just asking and answering questions. We still have our housing support program. We do a lot of work around visibility. We have a lot of things around education and outreach. And yeah, the whole team at Quad is just, we are really in a stage right now where we've hit a point of stability a little bit more. We're not constantly trying to grow and then find new programs. So the whole team at Quad is starting to really bridge out across the province and to find those folks that we're trying to connect with. And we're trying to then think about where the programs can go next. And it won't be as solely St. John's focused. We're really trying to get out to West Coast and to Labrador.
Without all of these efforts, let me build it the other way. Where do you see, when you look at the success of the vendors market, helping folks transitioning, other programs, just the functioning of Quadrangle, what does this all build?
I think it just builds a space that is by us and for us. That is what it is trying to do. But we're trying to do it in a very intentional way where it's not just going to be a space in St. John's. Yeah. Like we are really trying to, and that's in their program as well. They are mandated and they're required to get out to Labrador and to West Coast and to North Shore and all around the province they can to hold similar events or to even just hold networking things, meet with entrepreneurs who might want to start. But that's something we're applying to all of our other programs. Yeah. Like we do have a goal now where we want all the programs that we do, you can't just be in St. John's. Yeah. We need you to create these spaces in Lab City, and we need them in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and we need them in Corner Brook and St. Anthony and all around.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like so much support, so much building, so much being there, and then and to be that bridge in all these different communities, which in decades past, there wasn't stuff for folks. And so to be there now and to be working on it. So for you two, how does it feel to be this responsibility of building out and looking across the province?
It's so gratifying to be part of it and to help build it. I was actually part of one of the first fundraisers for Quad. It was kind of a running joke, not a joke, but like I was putting off a drag video game night downtown, and I was asking people who I should fund. There's Pride, but like Pride's half established already. Kind of has funders already. Someone said to me, "Well, just give it to Quadrangle." I was like, "What is Quadrangle?" And so, and it was like $300-400. We didn't fundraise that much.
So when would this have been?
Oh, 2019.
Yeah,
just pre-pandemic, right before pandemic hit. And I was maybe involved in a Pride maybe a few years later, and then Charlie comes up to me, founder, came up to me and said, "Yeah, so that was our first fundraiser." I went, "What?" There's no way that was the very first fundraiser. So it's great to be a part of that. And as the one lowly gay of the fishing community years ago, myself too, it's great to see that something like this exists and has that reach for province wide, operating 365 days a year.
It really, because I was back from living away in 2019. This is when I started learning about Quadrangle, talking to Charlie, talking to some others, and then and just seeing it build and build. And now to have this discussion today and to hear about cross province and that kind of it is quite the thing to see. Right, Willa, what about yourself?
I mean, honestly, it's really humbling. To use another H word, it's kind of an honor as well. My background is in marketing, so I have a commerce degree, and I initially went into that program wanting to use my marketing knowledge or whatever to I guess, how do I put this? You put it towards some of my passions. So be it like a more personal passion, like it's some artistic endeavor or whatever. But it's actually great to use it to actually really help people, to use it to help queer Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. I mean, getting out to Lab City for their Pride over the summer was incredible. Talking to some, queer business owners, some queer leaders in that community, and having those conversations with them and experiencing their, I guess, gratitude firsthand and getting that feeling of gratitude in myself, to have these conversations with these people. It's been remarkable. It's been amazing.
Oh, for me, for the conversation today, listening to both Brittany and Steve and their experiences and what all through what they've seen and experienced through the market and with their sales and also with meeting people, meeting new friends. It's such a largely positive, really nice thing to listen to about people just kind of connecting with each other and kind of moving on up, right? And developing and selling and being a successful entrepreneur. It's great.
We're not talking small pennies here. It's queer businesses contribute $22 billion to the Canadian economy every year. Yeah, but we make up less than 1% of those registered businesses. So you kind of got to sit back and ask yourself, geez, a lot is being made, but maybe we're not recognizing it enough. Yeah. How much of a contribution we make.
Let's get those numbers up. We're trying to get those numbers up. Right. Do what we can. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah. That's like the point of ETP too, is to show that, because there's a third member of ETP who's a different grantor, a different granted position, but their whole job, their name is Matt, they're wonderful. Their whole job is to build us a database of every queer and trans business or managed business or supported business in the province. Yeah. And he's already found over 150.
All right.
It's just there's visibility is the main problem.
Well, it looks like that conversation is going to have to continue because we're out of time. Thanks for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. That is it for the show today. If you have thoughts for us, thesignal@cbc.ca. Looking ahead to Monday. Yeah, Monday's the next show, right? We will talk about the green economy. What is it? And what are the opportunities for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians as we try to transition away from carbon? The folks from EcoNext will be here Monday. Don't miss it. Cheers.